If you have ever stared at your phone screen, watching that gray bubble appear, oscillate, and then vanish without a message, you know the specific kind of anxiety it induces. It's a digital heartbeat that signals someone is there, but struggling to speak. We often dismiss it as a connection error or a distraction. But what if I told you that this erratic rhythm is actually a window into their neural processing? If you see them typing, stopping, and typing again just to answer a simple yes or no, your brain should trigger a red alert. This isn't just hesitation. It is the architecture of a lie in real time.
We live in an era of instant gratification and rapid-fire communication. Our neural pathways have adapted to quick responses. When someone asks a simple question like, "Where were you last night?" or "Did you finish the report?" the truth is usually sitting right at the surface of the memory. It requires zero computation to retrieve facts. However, when that smooth flow is interrupted by long pauses and sporadic typing indicators, it breaks the pattern of honest exchange. We need to stop looking at the text that eventually arrives and start analyzing the silence that preceded it. To understand this, we must dive into a psychological concept known as cognitive load. Simply put, cognitive load is the amount of working memory resources used by your brain to perform a task. Telling the truth has a very low cognitive load. You are simply retrieving a record from your memory storage and translating it into words. It is a direct line from point A to point B. It flows like water because it aligns with reality. There is no resistance, no calculation, and crucially, no fear of contradiction.
Lying, on the other hand, is an incredibly complex cognitive task. It is not memory retrieval. It is creative writing, real-time fact-checking, and future projection all happening simultaneously. When a person decides to lie, their brain has to suppress the truth, which is the automatic response. Then it must construct a fabrication that is plausible. It has to check this new story against known facts to ensure it doesn't contradict previous lies. This consumes a massive amount of brain power, or voltage, which leaves fewer resources available for the motor task of typing.
Imagine the liar's mind as a computer processing a heavy video file. Everything else slows down. While they are constructing the narrative, they cannot type fluently. They might type out a sentence, realize it sounds defensive, delete it, and start over. They might type a partial truth, then realize it incriminates them, and stop. This internal editing process is what causes the typing bubble to act so erratically. They are building a castle on quicksand, and every brick requires careful placement. This brings us to the specific pattern, the oscillation. Start, stop, start, stop. If you ask a question that requires a binary answer, yes or no, and you see this pattern for 30 seconds, psychology tells us that the person is likely struggling with the content of the message. If the answer was the truth, the typing would likely be continuous, or the voice note would be immediate. The start-stop nature is the physical manifestation of self-doubt and the crafting of manipulation. The fingers hesitate because the brain is unsure of the strategy. Then there is the issue of latency, the time gap between reading the message and responding. Researchers in digital deception have found that lies generally take longer to produce than truths, especially in text-based communication. This response latency is the buffer time the liar needs to get their story straight. If they usually reply to you in 2 minutes, but suddenly take 10 minutes to answer where they were, without an explanation for the delay, that silence is heavy with cognitive load. They are buying time to manufacture a reality. When the message finally arrives after the long typing bubble, pay attention to the structure. High cognitive load often results in over-explanation. The liar feels that the simple answer isn't convincing enough, so they add fluff. They add unnecessary details about traffic or the weather or a specific conversation, hoping that these details add credibility. In reality, truthful statements are usually concise. Complexity is often the camouflage of deceit. They are working too hard to sell you the story. We must also consider the emotional component. Lying triggers the limbic system, the brain's emotional center. There is a microdose of fear, the fear of being caught. This anxiety interferes with fine motor skills. Just as your hands might shake when you are nervous before a speech, a liar's typing rhythm is disrupted by adrenaline. They are not just thinking, they are emotionally managing a threat. This physiological state makes smooth, rhythmic typing nearly impossible.
Think of the typing bubble as a glimpse into their drafting room. In face-to-face conversation, you can see someone stutter or avoid eye contact. In text, the typing animation is the stutter. It signifies that they are curating their persona. They are looking at the words on their screen and asking, does this sound like something an innocent person would say? The irony, of course, is that by taking so long to curate the message, they are signaling the very guilt they are trying to hide.
Now, a crucial caveat. Psychology relies on baselines. You cannot judge a specific behavior without knowing the standard. Does this person always type slowly? Are they generally bad with technology? Or are they usually lightning-fast responders? The cognitive load theory is only valid when there is a deviation from the norm. If a rapid texter suddenly becomes a slow, oscillating drafter, specifically when the topic of conversation turns to accountability, that is your deviation. That is your evidence.
We must also apply logic regarding context. High cognitive load isn't the only reason for delayed typing. Environmental load is real too. They might be driving, cooking, or walking in the rain. However, the pattern usually differs. Environmental delay is passive. Deceptive delay is active. Learn to distinguish between someone whose hands are busy and someone whose mind is busy inventing. Your own brain is an advanced pattern recognition machine. Often, you perceive the lie before you can logically explain it. This is your intuition picking up on the temporal dissonance. You feel that the rhythm of the conversation is off. Don't ignore that gut feeling. When the typing bubble dances for too long, your subconscious creates a flag. It says, wait, why is this hard? Why is a simple question requiring a complex assembly? Trust that signal.
Ultimately, truth is efficient. Truth is light. It doesn't need to be managed, polished, or edited. It simply exists. When someone is being honest with you, their digital footprint reflects that ease. The messages flow, the timing makes sense, and the content is direct. There is no heavy lifting required to simply say what happened. The absence of cognitive load feels like a breath of fresh air in a conversation.
So, the next time you are in a digital conversation that matters, don't just read the words. Watch the process. Observe the bubble. Recognize the weight of the cognitive load on the other end of the line. If they are typing, stopping, and rewriting the world to fit their narrative, you don't have to buy the story they eventually sell. You have already seen the struggle it took to build it. Stay observant, stay aware, and value the people who don't leave you watching the bubbles.